We make the smooth segue to Mark Schlereth, NFL on Fox analyst, three-time Super Bowl champ, working with Renegade Fantasy. Follow that, Stink.
Yeah, well, you know what? I can't follow that, but stink is appropriate for that comment, so we're good. By the way, your SB comment had me cracking up. I can't wait to see you get an Academy Award. It's going to be awesome, DP.
Yeah. When does the Micah Parsons situation get your full attention?
When he starts missing games.
Okay.
I mean, this is so standard for Jerry Jones, the standard operating procedure when it comes to Micah Parsons, because you wait till the last second to get your quarterback done, Dak Prescott. You wait till the last second to get to get your wide receiver done, and so CeeDee Lamb. So the bottom line is this is the way they operate as a business, but this is also the reason that things have gone awry, why you haven't won a divisional playoff round game since 1995. Because if you do it to these guys, it creates a locker room full, in my opinion, of independent contractors. You're like, if you're going to take your stars and you're going to rake them over the coals and you're going to essentially, give out some fake money contracts and report that Dak Prescott is going to be the highest paid guy in the history of football, and some of the details in there are faulty and he turns it down, well, you turn your fan base against your players look at the management and say, what are we doing here? You knew that Micah Parsons, Dan, you knew he was a bona fide superstar from his rookie year. And the fact that you wait and you wait and you wait, it keeps you out of free agency. It keeps you out of doing the things that you need to do as a football franchise to have a legitimate chance, in my opinion, to win a championship. And so it's just the Dallas Cowboy way. I said it on my podcast, the Stinking Truth podcast. They are the Jacksonville Jaguars with better marketing. That's what the Dallas Cowboys are.
If Jerry had actually relinquished the GM job, would they have been better? Would they have competed for would they have won championships in the last 30 years?
Yeah, because I think they have. I think they've done a great job drafting. I think they are a really good, really good football team. But there's more to it than that. Like when your owner is the guy that's circumventing the authority of the coach or the people that are in place, eventually that comes back to bite you. And ultimately for them, it's bitten them in the playoffs. And those things, it's hard to quantify and it's hard to put numbers on it. But I'm just telling you, when you have a back staircase to the owner's office, and if you don't like something going on within the organization as a player, you can go up there and talk to them about it. That is not the way the structure is supposed to happen in an NFL franchise. And eventually it bites you.
I always wonder about these holdout or hold-ins and how that affects the locker room. Because to me, if I'm a Cowboy fan, I think this is going to get done. But what is the leftover acrimony? If there is, they're going to agree to a deal. He'll get $45 million. They'll hug, laugh, press conference. He'll be ready to go against the Eagles opening night. But I just don't know if there's spillover. And, as long as you played, and granted, it's a different NFL now, but does it bleed into the locker room? And if so, what does it do?
Yeah, I just think that to have a championship kind of caliber organization, have the right culture to have that. And we talk about that all the time, but it's real, right? To have the kind of, hey, we're going to sacrifice for each other. We're going to play for one another. We're going to do those things. When there's some acrimony within that locker room. And ultimately, you're right. They'll agree to terms. They'll shake it out. They'll hug. Everybody be happy. But inside that locker room, man, you kind of pick sides. And ultimately, as a player, and I was never a superstar. I'm not one of those guys that that commands that kind of attention. But you got to remember that there's probably only 3 or 4 of those guys on each team. The other 50 guys, 49 guys are me. And you start looking at it from the standpoint of, hey, man, if they're going to do it to the superstar that's done everything the right way, the guy that came in here from the rookie year on and has played multiple positions, played inside, played outside, we've moved him around, and he has just thrived, and he has created opportunity for us as a defense, and he's done everything the right way, and you're going to kind of rake him over the coals, or you're going to slow play this thing with him, then what's going to happen when I'm a free agent? What's going to happen when I need a new contract? What's going to happen to us? And I just think it creates animosity between, the locker room downstairs and the front office upstairs. And that's a bad way to have a franchise to be able to compete in this league.
Talking to Mark Schlereth, NFL on Fox analyst. I'm looking at the holdout with Cincinnati with Trey Hendrickson and Terry McLaurin with Washington. Which one will have a bigger impact if they're not ready to go week one?
I think the McLaurin. And McLaurin is just a guy that's going to get 1,200 yards regardless of who the quarterback is. And it's funny, when you do Washington games, when you travel around and do a Washington game, you talk to other defensive coordinators around the league, the number one priority 9 times out of 10 is, how are we going to shut that guy down? How are we going to slow McLaurin down? And so he's not only that guy for Washington, but he's also that dude that when you talk to him, man, he just lights up a room. The old saying of there's 2 types of people in the world, those who light up a room when they go walk into it and those who light up a room when they walk out of it. He lights up the room when he walks into it, right? He is just a guy that brings energy, brings excitement, a guy that's super respected within that locker room and within that community. So that guy, to me, makes a huge difference. Listen, Trey Hendrickson is a phenomenal football player. Love watching him play. But in Cincinnati, the one thing they want to do is they want to sit back in shotgun and throw the football. And like the way they are built, the way they are constructed, they're going to try to outscore people. That's what they did last year. Their offensive coordinator came out this offseason and said, hey, we just got to outscore people. And I thought to myself, how'd that work for you last year? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because the way they're constructed, they're not a playoff team. They're wasting Joe Burrow, because they basically make him play the entirety of 4 quarters on a high dive. And ultimately, that's a recipe for disaster. And you got to take that guy off the high dive occasionally. You got to give him opportunities just to take a breather. And they never do. It's all on Joe Burrow 24/7 in Cincinnati. So whether they sign Hendrickson or not, that's not going to change the philosophy of how they play.
I'm always curious how, former players, analysts read what a rookie quarterback does in the preseason. Because this is what I hear. Well, it's preseason. Or, hey, did you see Jaxson Dart light it up? And then I go, well, wait a minute. It's just preseason. Like, when does it matter and when does it not matter? With Shedeur Sanders look really good. Jaxson Dart has looked really good. Jalen Milroe. I don't know what is real and not real, so help me out.
Yeah, I think that I always say this, and I think I probably stole it from John Lynch, but the preseason doesn't count, but it does matter. It matters how you play. It matters the attitude you have. It matters how you go out there and execute. And so ultimately the preseason is the base of what you do. So if you're talking about the structure of an offense, for instance, here is what we are. Now, as you get into the season, you build on that base, correct? Like you add plays that go with certain plays, right? You have adjunct plays based on what the defense does. So you're adding to that playbook. But the base of what you're going to do is what you execute in preseason. And if you're good at that base stuff, I mean, I won back-to-back championships in Denver. We ran 6 plays. Now, we did it out a lot of different formations, a lot of personnel groupings and all that stuff. So that requires the quarterback to have more on his plate and, to orchestrate the motions and the shifts and all that stuff. But the bottom line, if you're good at your base stuff, everything builds off of that. And so for Jaxson Dart or Shedeur Sanders, if you can execute the base stuff, well, if we're really good at that, it's like the 10,000-hour rule. We've done this as an offense 10,000 times. You've defended it 100 times. We're better than you, and we know it, and we're just going to go out and out-execute you. You can have success as a rookie. Now, if you have to trick everything up, Dan, because you're not very good, and you have to out scheme people, well, then you fall into trouble, right? That's when you can't just line up and say, hey, man, we're really good at these 5 things and we can execute these 5 things and build off of those. Well, if you can't do that, then you're going to be in trouble. But if your rookie quarterback can execute those things, I think you're all right. I think you can move forward.
Mark Schlereth joining us on behalf of Renegade Fantasy, the first fantasy game app allowing you to actually substitute in-game. If your player's not playing well or he gets injured, I got the details right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, listen, man, if you're a victim, right, don't play this game, right? If you want to blame somebody else, if you want to blame the running back for not having a great game, and you want to have an excuse for not winning your fantasy league, then this is not the league for you. But if you're a responsibility taker, right, and you say, hey, my running back is sucking hind, you know what? We're going to move on from him, and we're going to bench him in the first quarter and bring somebody else on. Or if your quarterback gets injured on the 4th play of the game, like happened to Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago, well, yeah, you bring your backup in. You still have an opportunity to win your league. Great cash prizes. You can join my league, markschlereth.renegadefantasy.com, and we can go head to head.
You blocked for Terrell Davis. He rushed for 2,000 yards, and you won the Super Bowl that year, correct?
Yes.
And I'm curious if you compared that season to what Saquon Barkley did last season with the Eagles. Who had a better season?
Yeah, I mean, Saquon was absolutely amazing. The Philadelphia Eagles, like just from top to bottom, their roster is just ridiculously good. So, yeah, I just think that one of the things that has happened here in the recent years, and this business and the business of football is so cyclical. I think one of the things that's really been interesting to me is watch the resurgence of the running game and how much the importance people are putting into that. And it's really interesting to watch how offenses have kind of looked at what defenses have done to them. So this got to be such a passing league, Dan, and such small people that, in my day, everybody was, linebackers are 250 pounds, right? And they're taking on guards and stuff. Now everybody's 215, 220. They can run like the wind, sideline to sideline. They got to cover. And offenses have just said, well, let's just play smash mouth. Like I had this rule when I was playing. If a fight breaks out and it comes between the little guy and the big guy, punch the little guy. They go down a lot faster, right? So if you can get a 330-pound guard on a 215-pound linebacker, let's go. Or the fullbacks. Like, how many fullbacks do you see in the league right now that are close to 300 pounds that play D tackle in college? Like, it's the way it's going right now. I've been watching a bunch of preseason. I'm watching fullbacks. They're my favorite players. I'm watching fullbacks like Ricard and this Oots kid in Seattle out of Alabama, and he's just shortening necks out there. And I'm like, this is awesome. I love this style of football. I'm in.
Yeah, years ago, I kept saying somebody is going to be counterintuitive, and they're going to run the ball because everybody was really lean. It was all about quickness, about getting to the quarterback. And I thought, if somebody gets a running game, it's almost like Whitey Herzog with his Cardinals in St. Louis years ago. All they did is run. Yeah, and I still think you could do that in baseball where you had speed. Everybody's got power, but you have speed just to be different than somebody else. And now you're kind of seeing a renaissance, which I think is great for the game. I think it's great that you have these running backs who are, not, we basically kind of stripped them down and said, go out there and maybe pass block and run out for some, pass catches.
Yeah, I love it. I love it as well. The other thing, you get into is, so there's so much side-to-side speed, and these linebackers, like I mentioned, 215, 220, but can run like the wind. And they get advantages when you run the ball outside or you flip it out there in a screen game and all that stuff because they can just run and go tackle and hit people. So one of the things, the thought process is, all right, well, if they've got the advantage of going side to side, let's slow them down and let's not let them move. So let's attack straight downhill with a tight zone or an ISO play, and let's put, B.O.B., our back on your backer, like our fullback at 300 pounds on your 215-pound linebacker, and let's make them stop their feet. Let's take the advantage of speed away from the defense, and let's just go after them. And you've seen a lot of that, man. I love watching Obviously, it's a little bit different in Baltimore because you got to throw in Lamar Jackson into the mix with his ability to run. But I love that style of football. I love what they're doing in the run game right now. And, it reminds me of 90s football, which I'm all about.
Meanest defensive lineman you blocked or tried to?
The meanest guy. John Randall was nasty. I mean, the guy, Warren Sapp was nasty, but the guy that really, like myself and I think everybody was scared of was Lawrence Taylor. I mean, he played linebacker, quote unquote, but dude, you would break the huddle, man, and you'd peek because you didn't want to look, right? You'd peek. You'd had counter called, and you just kind of peek down there, and he's frothing at the bit, and and you're just like, man, I gotta go trap this guy, and I know this is gonna hurt me a lot more than it's gonna hurt him, and you just didn't want to give him a hint, but he knew, and he just had that ability. As soon as you come screaming down the line of a scrimmage, man, to sink his hips and lower his shoulder and then just explode into you. Maybe just like, oh, man. He dog cussed me a couple times in a game, and I thought for sure he's going to kill me. Like, I just was like, oh, my gosh. I mean, cut him one time or something. And like, if you ever do that again, you're like, yes, sir, Mr. Taylor. I will never do it again. I promise. He was frightening. What an unbelievable. Changed the game.
Yeah, he was the first edge rusher when you think about it. We didn't call him an edge rusher. It was just a linebacker who was fast. And then Derek Brooks, who was Derek Thomas.
Derek Thomas, yeah, played that kind of edge. Yeah, we counted him as a big. I tell you, the other thing we did with Lawrence is what I was just talking to you about. You couldn't run away from him. He chased everything down. So we just ran at him at all times and made him stop his feet. And that wasn't very successful either, Dan, but it was like the lesser of two
better
evils.
of both worlds. Yeah.
Right. We're going to get our ass kicked either way, but we might as well get our ass kicked right to the point.
I remember an offensive coordinator saying that the best way to go after Alan Page of the Purple People Eaters, the Minnesota Vikings, was to go at him. Mm-hmm. And, I was trying to wrap my head around that logic that here's their best player, Hall of Famer, and he said you must take away his legs, so go at him so you know where he is instead of he's going to eventually catch up to you. And yeah. I thought it was a brilliant approach. He said it wasn't always successful, but at least we knew Alan Page wasn't going to track down a running back, and it's the same with LT.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple of guys that we did that with. I tell you, for the rap that Bill Belichick gets for being a curmudgeon and all that stuff, man, I did a New England game a couple years ago and sat down with Bill and we made our introductions around the table, and then he just looked at me and he goes, "We've had some freaking battles, haven't we?" And then we talked about Redskins Giants back in the late 80s, early 90s, and we probably talked for 30 minutes. It had nothing to do with the game I was calling, just about that time and game planning. And it was one of the coolest conversations I've ever had.
Mark Schlereth, Renegade Fantasy, the first fantasy game app that allows you to substitute in-game if your player gets injured or you just don't like the way he's playing. Great to catch up with you again, Mark. Thanks for joining us.